Hi guys, welcome back. You've got Tess and Mad.
Good job.
Thank you.
Executed perfectly.
Thank you so much. And we were just chatting about a note that you had found on your phone from earlier this year.
Yes.
Take us through it.
Well, so we were coming up with topics for Wednesday's episode, and I came across a note on my phone that was from February of this year, and it was basically telling future Madison like what needed to be done in order to ground myself. And it was like advice that I had thought of in that moment earlier this year, and then stuff that I needed to read again right now. So we just wanted to share it. And yeah,
Great.
there's a drill happening outside, which
But
I
no
feel
one can
like
ever hear it.
No, it didn't, but both of us kind of just like lost track, and we're like,
So if you're wondering why we just paused,
yeah,
and
that's
panicked.
why. It's because there was like some crazy noise, and we're like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for context is that there's a lot of change happening. I feel like we're a broken record with that, but there just is. And I'm thankful for change, and I'm thankful that we have to keep going over it because I feel like it's nice to reassess. But it's been a little chaotic in our brains, and the drill is matching that energy outside.
Dude, I'm like, how is she still talking? It's so
It's
gnarly.
really chaotic in our brains, and we are just needing to be more grounded. And I think we've mentioned this already, but we wanted to have a more concise episode that just has some tips, you know?
Yeah, tips on how to ground and how to bring yourself almost like back down to earth when you feel like, oh shit, like it's getting wild over here.
Yeah, you're just like, whoa, for me, I know when it's bad is like when I just like haven't really taken a deep breath in a long time. I'm like, oh no, this shit is not good internally.
Yeah, it feels like it's like not moving through your body. Like you're not processing, you're not dealing with it. You're just ingesting. And then you like get to the point where you're so full, you're like, I am not okay.
Legit, it's like heaviness inside, but
Yeah.
you also feel like you're wired.
Yeah, I notice for me and my body when it's like not good, my skin's wild. It gets so wild when I'm not in a good space. And I also like my stomach gets like my digestion gets off. And that's not always a result. Like those two things happening is not always because I'm like chaotic. You know, like sometimes I just like depending on where you are in the cycle or whatever, like things change. But I notice that those two are major when I am like not checking in with myself and calming down.
Yeah. I think I notice like if it's like a momentary thing of like all of a sudden like my anxiety has like been elevated, it's my patience for things is like non-existent. Like I just like don't have any patience at all. I'm just like, all right, I can't with anything.
Sometimes I'll be like, are you okay?
I'm like,
are
no,
we good?
I'm not.
No, we're not. Okay.
Not good. It's not good. So yeah, to avoid or not avoid that, but just ease your way through those feelings. First for me is, so I came across a note that was on my phone and I should have written it down because it was like this phrase that was just basically explaining like having a thought ready that you know will calm you down in the moment. And I thought that was very helpful of just like some like reminder that you have that you know will just like allow you to take a deep breath and like relax in the moment versus like thinking 20 steps ahead and being anxious.
Okay. That's really cool. Do you have any off the top of your head that you would use in that moment or?
I honestly don't. And I was like, don't ask me.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I feel like
I was just trying to think like I love an example. When
I
like
do
that
like an
comes
example
up.
too. I don't have one off the top of my head, and I feel like maybe if I did, it'd be too personal to say.
Okay.
But I mean, even if it just like, and we do this all the time, is like if you have a task maybe that you're feeling anxious towards, like we come up with things that like we're gonna do after it that are like the reward system for doing that.
Yeah.
So maybe that will be helpful for you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or just like taking a moment to remind yourself who you are and who you have in your life and how it's all gonna be okay no matter how weird you're feeling in that moment.
Yeah, I definitely say that one a lot. It's just like even if it feels like it's really not okay, I'm just like, it's going to be though.
Totally.
Right?
Like this is a feeling that I'm having and then this is gonna pass.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into ways that we ground. Something that you said that I have been loving is that you remind yourself of like your values and what's important.
Yeah, and that was in my notes that I referred to at the beginning of this, is that I just like, what are my core values? And not even going that deep of just like, it could be number one for me is my family. So then if that reminder in your head is like, you thinking about your family, like Tess said. I feel like that's really helpful. But yeah, just remembering like who you are. And if you're trying to figure out who you are, maybe journal on it.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
I do that all the time. I always like have a prompt of like, I check in, I don't know, however many months or when I feel like I need it. And I'm just like, who do I want to be? And then I just write down, you can write like a paragraph or just words. I do both, whatever like feels right.
Yeah. For me, it's like just parlaying off of this stuff, right? Because it's not like in place of that as my number one, but it's like, okay, what would my
definitely.
other one
And
be?
none of these are not in order. Yeah, no.
We say this and we've said this from the very, very, very beginning, but taking walks outside is key. Not just like a workout, not walking on the treadmill, but like actually physically being out in nature and taking it at whatever pace I need. Some days I need a fast walk. Some days I need a stroll. So whatever that pace is fine. But being outside and moving my legs like clears my head, resets my system. It gets me thinking in a more positive way. Like if I'm inside, I can feel myself almost like recycle thoughts. But if I'm outside, I'm like, oh, actually, it's like, we're good.
Yeah. And I feel like when I'm inside, it's really easy for me to distract myself with like the phone or my phone or the TV or like some task that I need to do that's actual bullshit, you know? When you're outside, like a tree can distract you, but I feel in my head, that's not a negative distraction. It kind of just like reminds me of how beautiful life is. And then I always go through like, it's such like a typical thought process, but I always see like a plant that's like the leaves are shedding and I'm like, oh my God, like that's what we do too, you know? Like it's such like a cycle of things of like, oh yeah, it sheds and then it like will flower up again and it's great. Yeah. But just to have the reminder that literally even plant life and animals go through like a depression, not like being depressed, but you know, like a depression. And then there's a
elevation.
Yeah.
Yeah. One other one I can say is not just taking walks outside, and it often helps to be alone because then you're actually processing, but you could do it with someone else and like talk it out, but just being with people in general, like my loved ones in general, and being able to communicate about the shit that we go through is so important.
Yeah.
Like I just think about every time I go hang out with my dad, because I don't see him every single day. So when I do sit down and chat with him, it's like a full debrief and we like air our shit out and it feels so good. And I leave, I'm like, oh, okay, that was that.
Yeah. Because and we're lucky that our families hold that space for us, but it does, like being with your people, even if it's your chosen family, it's like, it just reminds you of who you are again, you know? Because sometimes I'll be acting not like the Madison that I want to be or that my family knows me to be. And I just like feel strong when I'm with them. I'm like, oh yeah, this is who I like to be.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll be fine. And then I get with my family and I'm like, who is that?
Yeah, which happens a lot too. Yeah, same.
I'm like, whoa, that's not the Tess I know and love.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I do not treat my friends that way. What the fuck was that?
Yeah, like just being honest, guys, right? Like I'm sure we can maybe all relate to that.
Totally.
And that's awful because I would rather it be the other way around.
I know.
You know, I'd rather treat them like gold and other people who are not as close to me like
shit.
No, I mean, I don't treat them like shit, but I'm just maybe a little bit more honest or brash or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think I'm just like can be short-tempered, specifically with my mom sometimes.
Okay, back to grounding.
But anyway, yeah. Okay, and also another simple tip, I think, and it's easier now that it's fall, in my eyes anyway, is the food that you eat, I feel like is obviously very grounding. And for me right now, I mean, I always eat what I want for the most part, like if I have access to those foods. But for right now, it's less like raw foods. It really varies day to day. Like I'll have fruit sometimes, but a lot of warming actual meals are it. Yeah.
And I can speak to that because I've been doing a bit more cooking recently, which we talked about. And I was chatting with Grace, who is the holistic nutritionist that we had on the podcast. I forget what episode number it is, but I can link it in the show notes. But Grace and I had a chat working on my health. And not like just in general, but I was like, hey, Grace, like, where do I start? And that was something she had recommended for me and that's very like common knowledge, but it's nice to be told it directly of like,
it's honestly not common knowledge. Like a lot of people don't know.
Yeah. I guess that's true. They're like, oh, I should eat a salad. That's healthy. And you're like, but that could be causing like more distress in your body.
Yeah. And sometimes it's really hard. Like if your body's already in a stressed state, or so I've heard, it's hard to digest like such fibrous raw things. Like our body, it's easier typically, I think, to digest cooked, warming foods.
Right.
Yeah. I always look into, and you can find more information if you like look up like traditional Chinese medicine or like Ayurveda. I feel like they're very knowledgeable about that specific topic.
And you notice when you do that, it actually does feel really good in your body. Like,
Yeah,
don't
like
get me
I
wrong,
feel
like I'm still
calm.
eating salads and stuff.
Oh yeah,
but,
hell yeah.
But if I'm feeling like, like being able to just go and like eat something
A
warm
cooked meal. Oh my God. Specifically like some sort of protein and like a potato or rice.
Yeah. And I even go,
fuck.
like, I think about it this way. A lot of times, it's old Tess and still sometimes Tess would opt for a protein shake because it's just fucking simple. It's easy. I know it's nutritious and I know like I can take it on the go because my work right now is very much so like go from one thing to the next. And I come home and I have like 20 minutes to shower, change, and make myself some food. And I notice on the days where I have prepped for it and I have a meal ready to go to take with me to work, I'm way more calm and easygoing than the days that I come home and frantically make myself a cold protein shake in my blender.
Right.
Like even
but
just
sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Absolutely. But I'm saying if you have time and you have the ability to slow down and make yourself a warm meal, go do that.
Yeah,
like, it might really
absolutely.
feel like you feel like you're taking care of yourself and it feels
Like you're
actually
honestly
nourishing.
nourished. Yeah, like you're fully like you're actually full, like satiated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which a lot of times I can get that way from a smoothie, but then it seems like it's short lived.
Totally.
Like I'm like,
and
oh,
I
I'm
think
so
that's, like,
full. And
very
then like
common.
10 minutes later, I'm like,
Me too.
what else
I'm
can I
like,
eat?
Yeah, because I'm not, it depends. It really depends. Because sometimes I'm just like not actually satisfied. I'm like, no, now I need something salty or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Or like crunchy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Tess and I are pretty good at practicing that tip that we just were preaching about, but we notice it in this last weekend when we knew that the night we were going to be going out and dinner was probably going to be like weird and like snacky and not really a full meal. So for lunch, we had like a fat piece of salmon and a bunch of sweet potatoes.
Like
And
a real meal, like hot and great.
Oh
yeah.
my God. Like I want that every single day for the rest of my life. Like
Me
it's
too. It's
so good.
It feels like
Oh
life
my God.
entering your body.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was just amazing.
But then we
So,
brought a bar in our purse for that night because we knew.
Oh, we had to.
And that was a good
too
call.
Much like, oh, it was a great call. I was like, felt like as I was eating. So I guess it's like specific for the moment because as I was eating that bar, I was like, this is life force right now. Like it brought me back from the dead. Like there's too much tequila in my stomach. I needed this bar.
Totally.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that off the top of my head that really grounds me. We said.
Oh, okay. Well, I feel like I can tag along on your walking one.
Yeah.
And it's how you exercise. I'm trying to be like very simple of like, oh, what are practical tips? It's like eating, exercise, mindset. So for exercise, I can't, like, it's hard for me. Even sometimes when I'm feeling frantic and I go for a fast walk, like that's too stressful for me. Like it feels like, why am I just like doubling up on this frantic energy? And I'm like going, like moving
Because you think like, oh, I want to like
power through
it.
it. And then I feel like even crazier. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, no. And it's like, yeah. So anyway, is for me, it's doing a lot more stretching and grounding exercises. Obviously, we're really close to Pilates and we're obsessed with it. And I feel like it's very grounding because you're very in your body. And HIIT exercises for me are not it right now, and they haven't been for a long time, but it just feels like very frantic. I know it works for a lot of people and that's awesome, but not during these times or in my body. It's just too much.
Yeah. The last thing I can tag on, because we're like kind of getting all the categories, is breath and sleep and how you can use them both together.
Yeah.
To calm your body down and like enter that deep state of rest, because as we all know, breath work is a huge and really important tool on calming your nervous system down and activating the parasympathetic nervous system. So if you do like short chest breaths, like if you were to sit here and like go, you could actually convince your body that you're like in fight or flight mode. Yeah. And it can create like a whole physical, like you'll get hot and clammy and like you'll be flush. And there's this whole science behind it. But if you actually slow your breath down and you like are intentional with where you're breathing, that changes your mental state so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And then getting enough sleep is key, because we even noticed yesterday when we were coming home from our vacation, we didn't sleep that much, like not only in terms of hours, but then in the hours we did have allotted for sleep, it wasn't quality sleep. It was
interrupted. It was just not right.
Yeah, it wasn't quality sleep. And it affected us so heavily yesterday, like the day after we didn't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And it just goes to show you that even if you're doing everything right, you're eating well, and we went for a morning walk and we were with our friends and like everything was fine. Even if you're doing all the rest, if you're lacking on sleep, you can almost always guarantee that you're going to feel off.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost always.
So true. It's really, I mean, all these tips are pretty simple, but it's like a tried and true thing. And even when we first moved into our apartment, because that was like the last change where we were feeling very frantic and we were not getting as much sleep as we're getting now. Like I feel like we finally like settled in. Like we're going to bed at like, if we can, we're going to bed at like 9 and we get up at 5.
Yeah.
Or 6. But that's like straight up 9 to 6 is like 9 hours.
Yeah.
But we need it. Like I seriously wake up and I'm like, wow, this is how, like, this feels so good. Sometimes I'm still tired, to be honest. But
yeah, I was going to say, you really feel that way? Because I have some work to do.
No, compared to how it was like a few months ago, I was going to bed at like 11 or 12 and I get up at 5.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Like,
right.
I can't do that right now. Like, it feels so good to sleep. And I'm like, finally, I've made it.
I also think it's seasonally too. Like it's so much darker at this time of the year than it is in summer, that in the mornings, like I don't feel like I want to spring out of bed. Like,
yeah, because it's dark. I'm like, it's dark till 7. And
but
I know
the time's about to change.
Yeah, I know.
There's that.
Which is great.
But it's also getting dark way earlier.
So it's like, all right, dinner by 5 at the latest. Go to bed at 9.
Seriously, we do. Like we go on our walks earlier in the day now, because we try to take a walk almost every day.
Yeah.
We have dinner early, and then we watch a little, like we're watching Yellowstone
or Below Deck.
Yeah. And then we just like, all right, we have like a cup of tea. Okay, good night.
Yeah. It's so like, and I don't even feel ashamed or like embarrassed to say that. People are like, oh, fucking grandmas. I'm like, yeah. During this time, it feels like we're taking advantage of this before we have, who the hell knows, like our schedules are crazier or we have kids.
Totally.
Like we need to take advantage of these times.
But also we do pack so much into our days that we're not just like lazy and chilling and then we go to bed at 9 and like, you know, like we get our ass up at literally dawn and we go teach Pilates. Like, you know, like we're doing so much shit.
Yeah, I know that we seriously like, I need to go to bed. Like, I'm like, you know what? This day was awesome. Thank you so much for this day. But like, I'm so done right now. Yeah.
And I just like to know, because I'm sure that there's someone out there who's fucking listening who's like, this is so rudimentary. What do they think they're, you know?
Yeah, we're not saying that these
Holy
are
shit, we're not wellness experts.
Facts.
My God.
Experts. Okay.
Did I say exports?
Yeah.
No,
we're not like wellness experts, obviously. This is just like things that work for us. Like
maybe you need a little reminder. Okay, that's the end of my TED Talk.
Exactly. No, that's perfect. I think that these are very I mean, I even need to be reminded of this, and I read about this shit all the time. I know. So I'm like, Madison, listen.
Careful, Madison. We were almost echo chambery there.
Oh yeah, true. We agree with each other too much.
Okay, I think that's it for my ground. I'm sure there's way more, but like I don't want to even just run on and on.
Yeah, but in the last 18 or 15 minutes, this is what we had to give.
We love it.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed your little Quickie Friday episode.
Yeah. Have an awesome weekend, and we will talk to you all next week. Okay. Don't say bye.
Oh.
You can say talk soon.
All right, guys. Until next time.
Say it.
Talk soon. Say it.
Talk soon.
Every time.